Mind you, circumcision is a command from God. As a Christian, it's a command that needs to be done. The fact that times are changing, that is bound to happen. We live in an ever-evolving world. We live in an ever-changing world. But that does not mean that every single change that comes with the times requires us to adapt to it. So to leave everything in the name of times are changing, and that as my child is growing, my child will make decisions for themselves, that tells me that as parents, we are running away from our responsibilities. Welcome back to Raw Conversations with me, Herald Kavuala. So recently, MacG and his team, Saul Penduka and Ghost Lady, had a discussion. I think it's the most recent episode that they just dropped. And during that whole episode, they touched on circumcision. Now, it's something that triggered me that one of the ladies in the back end said. I just forgot who her name is. And that's pretty much why I decided to come and touch on this subject. I never thought I would be speaking on circumcision on my platform, but here we are. That's the beauty of doing what you love doing. You never really know what you're going to end up doing, but you end up doing it. So yeah, I'm going to touch on circumcision today, and mainly because of something that she said that I do not agree with. Now, I have nothing against people that have not circumcised. There is nothing wrong with it, to be quite honest. But it's what she said that triggered me to come and she say my opinion over their opinion, because they also share their opinions. So I'm going to play a video here. It's a bit of a long video, about 4 or 5 minutes, 4 or 5. Saul probably had a pun. In our episode, there was a 4 or 5 pun joke that they made in there. So the video is about 4 minutes and 46 seconds. I'm going to let it play in 4. And then at the end, I'm going to share my opinions on why I disagree with what they said. Let's get to it.
And then as a lady, Ghost Lady, okay, you married, man, we can't ask you. Dudu.
Now I was almost like, What's your cover? No, I was like, what's your cover?
Have you been with foreskin niggas, circumcised niggas, and is there a difference? As a lady.
Yeah, I have been with an uncircumcised person.
Yeah.
For a long time, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there a difference?
For me, not really.
Yeah.
As long as they're hygiene, because obviously with the foreskin, it's more of a hygiene thing. With the guys, that is it clean enough?
Of course,
if I'm giving a blowjob, because obviously when you're giving a blowjob, you have to pull down the skin.
Oh, yes, yeah.
But
you gotta pull it down, yeah.
You pull down the skin.
Yes.
When you give a blowjob, like how?
Yes, if they're not circumcised, if a person is circumcised, obviously the skin has been cut. There's no hood.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So if there is a hood, and obviously you're going to injure him, so you have to pull it down.
Can't injure the poor kid.
Exactly, and then you're able to
you
give a blowjob.
Stretch.
Kanye's
You gotta
for you
roll
guys.
it up.
No, pull it down.
Pull it down.
So that the head of the
Thank
penis.
God I'm never gonna have to do that. So
Yeah.
I don't understand, but you can go on.
Yeah. So for me, it's there isn't much of a difference. I don't know. Maybe for them.
Yes, yeah, you can't tell.
Yeah, I can. It's fine, But I remember we had Ike Kumalo here on the show.
Kumalo, yes.
Oh, yeah?
And he did say specifically, in fact, we need to find that clip. He did say that sex for him or sex for men before they get circumcised and after is different.
Whoa.
The best sex is when you are uncircumcised. Obviously, we're not saying the sex that you're having is not good.
Yeah.
We're not, because we don't know. And you sure it's your body. Like you said, so you didn't have sex, but you were circumcised. That's the only sex you know.
I'm happy. Yeah.
And even Tato's example, I think when you're a 16-year-old, the sex that you're having is you're just doing whatever. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You can't even tell the differences.
Yeah.
So, Ike.
Sometimes you can't even tell the whole.
Right? You don't know where you're going. True.
Bro.
Honestly.
Whoa.
Honestly, yeah, that's true. Because you're a teenager, man. You're a kid, right? But Ike said it. He said it.
Would you
So
let your kid get circumcised?
He is not circumcised right now. He's 4 years old.
But
and we've had that chat, and it was a thing of, kids get circumcised when they're younger because they heal better,
Yes,
right?
yes.
All the males in my life, and in fact, I have majority of males in my life, because I grew up with brothers. Everyone advised me in that way.
Yes.
Until I had one chat with one brother that I knew we are mameli, we understand. And I was like, man, the kids that we're raising right now, going back to that conversation, Mac, we had initially in the show, to say you need to adapt with what is happening in life right now.
No, not when it comes to foreskin.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But I feel like it should be his choice. So probably he'd be like 16 and he'd be like, Ma, why was I not circumcised when I was a kid? Then you can say, okay, you can go get it. You can always do it. But whereas the difference is now if I already did it when he was 2 and then now he's going to talk about my mother mutilated my body. They're so woke right now. So that's my thinking around that.
Yeah. And you, Ghost Lady, would you let your
body doesn't sound like
your kids get circumcised?
So we obviously decided with our first, remember I've got 2 sons. So first son already got circumcised. I think I was around about 4 or 5 years old. And it was parents' decision, us, me and his dad.
5 years old.
And
she said it. You had to circumcise him at 4, 5. Yeah, you just had to. You couldn't wait.
okay.
But yeah. Sorry, go on.
And my second son, and I had even this conversation with my husband during the week, which he agrees with. He says to allow him, he can decide as he grows if he wants to be circumcised or not. Because I really feel like this thing, it's almost like this push. It's like a whole agenda of, oh no, kids have to be circumcised at a certain age, or it's pushed upon. Also, as much as you have this thing of women's body, it's your rights, you can do whatever you want. Same thing with men. Let's also give it like equal rights.
Yeah. So my biggest gripe with this whole entire issue is it's not even the whole circumcision thing. It's just the fact that we this thing of saying that because times have changed, we need to adapt with them. Let's stop saying that. Because not every single thing that changes is good. MacG even said it, not when it comes to foreskin. The fact that times are changing, that is bound to happen. We live in an ever-evolving world. We live in an ever-changing world. But that does not mean that every single change that comes with the times requires us to adapt to it. And that is my biggest gripe. So to hear them saying that I don't want my child later on to say I've mutated their body, that is my biggest issue. For Ghost Lady to say, no, we want to leave it to be their choice, that also is my issue. As parents, we are responsible for the start of our children's lives. And we are responsible for starting them off right. That's honestly my opinion. That's the least we can do for our children, for our kids. Because if you want to apply that same logic, apply it in education. Say, no, I want for my child to grow up to decide if he wants to go to school or not. It can apply to that as well. And that's why I am saying that not every single change that comes, we need to adapt to it. Certain things should not change. For example, this issue of circumcision. Imagine a man at the age of 30 having to circumcise. It's not comfortable. In fact, it's even called a minor surgery. If you are above the age of 25 and above, it doesn't become something that's just, look, the foreskin as it grows, it becomes harder, I believe, or whatever the case may be, but it becomes a bit more of a not so easy process to do. So to leave everything in the name of times are changing, and that as my child is growing, my child will make decisions for themselves, that tells me that as parents, we are running away from our responsibilities. You are responsible for your child. Until the child's of age, 18 and above, then you can be like, you know what, make your own decisions in life. But prior to that, before that, I am responsible for my child, and it is my responsibility to make the good decisions for my child. Circumcision, according to my opinion, is one of them. Now, there's two aspects of looking at these things, right? There is the religious aspect of it, and then there's also the natural aspect of it. Now, we are going to look into the religious aspect of it because I am a Christian, and I've said it many times on this platform. My life is based off Christian principles, right? So we are going to look at the religious part of it. Mind you, circumcision is a command from God. As a Christian, it's a command that needs to be done. So that's something you have to bear in consideration as a Christian. Now, naturally, it's not something that's a necessity, right? You can still live your life as a normal human being without being circumcised, right? You can. But it's much, 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 much more healthier when you're circumcised. It's much more peaceful. And this is coming from me who is circumcised. Look, I'm going to give you a few reasons. Now, these reasons, a few benefits of circumcision, and they might not be major for some of you guys. But it's honestly the little things in life that will make the big difference. It's like what I was watching some financial advice videos today. And one of the people say that it's not the major investments that make the biggest difference. It's the little investments that accumulate over time and make you into the millionaire that you will later become. It's the same thing with here. These benefits might not seem major, but over time, it just makes your life easier. It just makes your life worth living. One of the benefits of circumcision is easier hygiene. You heard that lady. I just forgot her name. She says that no, you have to pull the skin down so you can give the person head. And also, when they bath, they have to pull the skin up, not down the skin, they pull the skin up so they can clean up properly. And if they don't, that area of the foreskin does build up bacteria and does build up dirt. And that's not something you want as a man walking around. It's like with ladies as well. When ladies that have second tits, when they have to bath, they have to lift the tits and they should clean underneath the tits. So otherwise, you get sweat and moisture and all that stuff. It's the same. It's just an hygiene thing. You just want to be clean as a human being. Now, when you are circumcised, you don't have to worry about that because that skin has been removed. As you bath, you are already washing it, assuming you wash your penis, of which you should be washing your penises. And there are people that actually don't wash their legs, which is very weird. I should show this on Shits and Gigs. There's a Fuhad, no, not Fuhad, the light-skinned guy. He says he doesn't wash his feet. That's extremely weird. Anyway, benefit number 2, lower risk of urinary tract infections, UTIs. You know, look, let's just imagine this. Just imagine this. You are uncircumcised, right? Let's say underneath the foreskin, there's bacteria building. And then you go and have unprotected sex. The chances of getting infections are extremely very high. Extremely very high. And both you and the lady are at risk of having UTIs. Circumcision prevents that. Like I said, for some people it might not be major, but it's honestly the little things. It's honestly the little things. Number 3, it reduces risk of certain STIs like HIV, including HIV. According to the World Health Organization, 50 to 60% reduced risk of acquiring HIV through heterosexual men, right? Because the gays, obviously, they do it differently. I'm not even going to get into that. That's a whole other topic I'm going to get into. But yeah, the chances of acquiring HIV is like 50 to 60% lowered. That's just, again, it might not be a major thing for you, but you just want to live life on the safer side. It just makes things easier for you. It really does. And lower the risk of penal conditions. Like I said, these might not be major to certain people, but it protects you and the person you're having intercourse with. It just makes your life easier. Your hygiene, your chances of falling sick, sexually transmitted disease and all that stuff, all that get lowered by just the simple act of circumcision. So this thought of saying, no, I want my son to grow up and decide if he wants to circumcise or not. Your son is not live, let's say, I don't know when the child will decide to circumcise, but let's just say 18 years of the child's life, the child's living with an uncircumcised penis. And let's say this child becomes active sexually before they even reach the ages of 18. Right? Who knows what can happen between that time? A lot can happen. So as a parent, it is my responsibility to just prevent that or lower the chances of that happening. And that, by the simple act of circumcision, I protect my child from quite a few things. Right? He doesn't have to worry. And I mean, who would ever want to grow up and regret being circumcised? I don't think there's ever any human being that's not grow up and regret being circumcised. Penduga said it. He has never known what it is to have sex without with a full skin on. So even if you do circumcise your child, later on in life, they're not going to come back to you and say you mutated them. On what ground? On what grounds? You want to keep your full skin for what reason? What are the benefits of having a full skin on? So, to really use that as an excuse that times are changing, and I want my son to be able to make their own decision in life, that's total BS, and I don't support that. As a parent, you're responsible for making decisions for your son as long as they're under your roof. It's only when they leave that you can now decide that now you are on your own, make your own decisions, but you need to put them on the right path in life. You need to set them up for success, set them up for a better life. Now let's touch on to the religious side of circumcision. And I did say earlier on, circumcision is a command. And I'm going to tell you where it's found in the Bible. Mind you, circumcision is spoken about in two different aspects, or two different views, for better lack of terminology, in the Old Testament and in the New Testament. All right? The command is found in the Old Testament. And it's in Genesis 17, 10 to 11. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you and your descendants after you. So that still applies to us, me, and my generation after me. Every male child among you shall be circumcised, and you shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. It is a covenant between God and man. As a Christian, this is something we should be taking pretty serious. It's a covenant between God and mankind. Man. A command which God has given us. God commanded Abraham that every male child and their descendants be circumcised. And we Christians like saying that our forefathers, Abraham, Jacob, and Isaac. So if truly these are our forefathers, then we should be following their commands. We should be following the path that they've laid before us. Okay? So, in terms of the religious side of it, this is not even a debate. Circumcise. If you're a Christian, circumcise. Jews circumcise the kids, I think, at 3 days old, if I'm not mistaken. 3 days old already, circumcision is done. And it just makes their healing process easier. A child of 3 years old, he doesn't know what the penis is there for. He doesn't even know that he pees or he doesn't know nothing. And when I circumcised my son, I think within a week of, if not less, I think, the stitches fell off and it was already recovering. It wasn't a process at all. It wasn't anything painful. A 30-year-old man is not filled the way it was, especially if you've been active. And now you need to be walking around, can't wear undies because it's going to hurt, can't do this, can't do that, you can't sit comfortably. When you want to pee, it's probably burning. Why would you want to put yourself through all that? Parents, why would you want to put your man through all that? Your man, why would you want to put your son through all that? Circumcise your sons. Make their lives easier. All right, now some might say that the New Testament says Gentiles do not need to circumcise, of which the Bible says. And this is according to Galatians 5 verse 6. For in Christ Jesus, neither circumcision nor uncircumcision avails anything, but faith working through love. I'm going to put a pause there for a bit and say this. Let's not get this verse twisted, right? Let's not confuse ourselves with this verse. This verse is not talking about a physical circumcision, because, as like I've said this before in this podcast as well, and this is just a different way of looking at things. Circumcised or uncircumcised, you are still going to enter heaven. That has nothing to do with heaven. That just has everything to do with your personal well-being and your personal hygiene, right? Here, Galatians is referring to the salvation of one's being, your personal salvation. That's what Galatians is referring to, spiritual matter. So it doesn't matter if you're circumcised or uncircumcised, you are still going to enter heaven. Why was this verse brought up? It's because the Gentiles do not live by the same laws or the same rules as the Jews. I'm a Gentile, right? I'm saved by grace, but I'm a Gentile, right? I'm not obligated to live by the same rules as the Jews. So if I choose to not circumcise myself, I'm not going to miss heaven because I chose not to. That's what Galatians is saying. As long as I've accepted Jesus Christ as my personal Lord and Savior, I'm still going to enter heaven circumcised or uncircumcised. Even though it does command us in Genesis that we have to circumcise, even though we are commanded to. But remember, the command was for the Jews, not for the Gentiles. Again, like I said, the Jews and the Gentiles by the time are not living by the same laws. But me, as a Christian, I choose to circumcise because it's a covenant between me and God. It has nothing to do with whether I'm a Gentile or a Jew. It has nothing to do with that. It's everything to do with me following the life of a Christian. That's all. So do not bring this up and say, oh no, but I don't need to circumcise. Yeah, you don't need to circumcise. But remember that every single man, I learned this through Joshua, the late prophet Joshua. Every man has two natures, the divine and the natural. In the divine, in the divinity, in the world of in the spiritual world, circumcision has nothing to do with you entering heaven or who you are spiritually. In the natural world, circumcision has to do with your hygiene, has to do with the chances of you being sick, has to do with the chances of you spreading through sexual intercourse. There's a lot when it comes to the natural side of the human being. In the divine, circumcision has nothing to do with it. It plays no role at all. God barely even cares about whether you're circumcised or not. So on that side of life, you can let it go. But in the natural world, I would advise that you do consider it. And even in the spiritual world, just for the mere fact that circumcision is a covenant between you and God, just for the mere fact alone, I would say consider circumcision. And that's my advice to every man and every single parent that's watching this. If you have a son, parents, please not wait for your kid to grow up for them to decide if they want to circumcise or not. Set them up for life and circumcise them. It's going to make their lives easier. They don't need to worry about falling sick. They don't need to worry about spreading STIs and all that stuff or having to easily contact it, because they can. They can. So, yeah, that's my opinion. I didn't think I was going to speak this long, honestly. I thought it was a very quick episode. But, yeah. Please, men, do circumcise. Parents, do circumcise your kids. And let's stop this notion of times are changing when to adapt. Not everything that changes is good for us. Thank you for coming in this far into the episode. Peace.